Hey everybody, before we get into today's episode, here's something fascinating I've been trying. There's a supplement called DeBloat by Lumo that supports healthy digestion and helps reduce bloating in under an hour. It's made from just four clean ingredients, papaya, pineapple, tempeh, and soybean, and works by helping the body break down food more easily and absorb nutrients better.
You can get 15% off at trylumo.co with the code info on the go, or just click the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm William,
And I'm Kat.
and this is a dash of info.
Little things you want to know.
Now, let's talk about these cancer-fighting nanobots. This technology is still in its early stages, but the results so far are promising.
Swedish scientists at the Karolinska Institute have developed tiny nanorobots that can selectively target and destroy cancer cells without harming healthy ones. These nanorobots are made using a technique called DNA origami, where DNA strands are folded into specific shapes to form microscopic structures, which would be a game changer
It
as far
would
as chemo.
it would be a huge game changer. We're going to talk a little bit about the process that it goes through, but at the heart of this innovation is a hidden weapon, a hexagonal pattern of peptides, short chains of amino acids designed to activate death receptors on cancer cells. This would trigger cell death, or cell death for cancer cells, rather. The challenge with using these peptides as a standard drug is that they would kill both healthy and cancerous cells, making them too dangerous for treatment.
Which, I mean, is essentially kind of like chemo.
Yeah.
But to overcome this, scientists enclose the peptides inside of a protective DNA nanostructure. The key to their precision lies in their activation mechanism. The peptides remain locked away until they enter the acidic environment surrounding cancer tumors.
Cancer cells create a more acidic environment, a lower pH than healthier tissue, which serves as the trigger for the nanorobots to release their deadly peptides only where they are needed. Man, that is huge. So I guess they got to get past that part where what doesn't kill the healthy cells.
Right.
But,
So the results so far in lab tests, the nanorobots stayed inactive at a normal pH of 7.4, but activated at a pH of 6.5, which is typical around cancer cells.
when tested in mice with breast cancer, these nanorobots reduced tumor size by 70% compared to untreated mice. So what's next?
While these findings are exciting, the treatment is still in the preclinical stage. Before moving on to human trials, researchers need to
Test nanorobots in more advanced cancer models that closely resemble human tumors. Hmm.
assess any potential side effects and ensure the treatment does not harm healthy cells.
That's got to be huge, right? Want to
That's
make sure that it's
huge.
just attacking the cancer cells and not, causing major
Right.
damage. Um, Improve testing by adding special proteins and peptides to help the nanorobots recognize specific cancer cells. Hmm.
The research funded by organizations like the Knut and Alice Wallenberg Foundation, the European Research Council, the Swedish Research Council, and the Academy of Finland is moving forward, but it will take time.
If these preclinical studies are successful, clinical trials in humans would follow. But that process takes years and requires extensive regulatory approval.
So while this breakthrough offers hope for the future cancer treatments, it will be a while before these nanorobots become available for real world use.
Now, how does medical research and development work? There's so much that goes into bringing new treatments from the lab to actual patients. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about that process.
The process of bringing a new medical treatment from an idea to an actual approved therapy is long, complex, and highly regulated. It can take 10 to 15 years and cost hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars.
Well, you got to think about all the laboratory, the scientists, the research. Well, that
Right. And not
takes
to mention, you also have to have, and when it gets to human trials, you have to have volunteers.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to break it down into key stages. So the first stage is discovery and preclinical research. Before a new drug, treatment, or medical device can be tested in humans, it has to go through discovery and preclinical research in the lab.
Basic research is where scientists study diseases at the cellular and molecular levels to understand what causes them and identify potential ways to treat or cure them.
Identifying a target. Researchers look for specific molecules or pathways in the body that can be influenced by a drug or treatment.
Developing a treatment candidate, once a promising compound or technology is identified, scientists conduct lab tests to see how it interacts with the body.
So then, animal testing usually takes place during the preclinical studies before human trials. The treatment is tested in animals to assess safety, effectiveness, and potential side effects.
And if the preclinical results are promising, researchers submit an investigational new drug or IND application to regulatory agencies like the FDA in the US or EMA in Europe to get approved for clinical trials in humans.
So just to be clear, these cancer-fighting nanobots are not quite at this stage yet.
Mm-mm.
They're pretty close, but not quite there.
Right.
So the second part of this is clinical trials, where human testing begins. Clinical trials happen in three main phases before a treatment can be approved. These trials take years and involve thousands of volunteers to ensure safety and effectiveness. To your point, there's people have to volunteer for this.
Right.
Sometimes they get paid, right?
Sometimes you do get paid for volunteering for clinical trials and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly how you get into them, but I know I've heard of a couple of people through people that I know anyway, who have signed up for clinical trials like that and have gotten paid.
Well, I'm thinking for this particular, we're talking about cancer fighting nanorobots. I'm assuming you would have to have some type of cancer to participate.
Most likely,
Yeah.
I would assume so anyway. Of
Okay.
course, assuming's not really a good, uh, not really a good thing all the time.
I imagine they would have to have like, there's what is it? There's a control group where they probably won't get the
Right. They would have
nanorobots, a placebo
right,
kind of.
exactly.
Okay. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
So phase one, which is safety testing, 20 to 100 participants, which is more or less a year. First time the treatment is tested in humans, it focuses on safety, side effects, and how the drug is absorbed, distributed, and eliminated, and uses a small group of healthy volunteers or patients.
Phase two, effectiveness and safety. This usually involves 100 to 500 participants and can last from, a couple of years. Uh, in this phase, test the treatment in patients with the disease, as we said, determines the optimal dose and looks for signs that the drug works, continues to monitor for side effects. Lord.
And- right. And then there's phase three, large scale testing, which is around 1,000 to 5,000 participants, which is give or take 3 or 5 years. Compares the new treatment against the standard treatment or a placebo in a large patient population, focuses on long term safety and effectiveness, and if successful, the company submits a new drug application or NDA or biologic license application BLA to the FDA or similar agencies for approval.
So, phase three of all of this is regulatory approval. So, regulatory agencies like the FDA, EMA, or MHRA review all data from preclinical and clinical trials to decide if the treatment is one, safe, the benefits outweigh any risk, two, effective, it works as intended in patients. Three, manufacturable. It can be produced reliably and consistently. If approved, the treatment becomes available to the public. However, approval doesn't mean the process is over.
So then we come to number four, the post-approval monitoring, phase four trials and surveillance. Once a drug or treatment is on the market, researchers continue to monitor its safety and effectiveness in the real world. Phase four clinical trials, additional studies may be required to assess long-term effects and pharmacovigilance. Doctors and patients report side effects, and regulators may issue warnings or even recall the treatment if new risks emerge.
So, challenges and why it takes so long. Developing new treatments is incredibly challenging because most drugs fail. About 90% of drugs that enter clinical trials never get approved because they're just unsafe or ineffective. It's expensive. The average cost of developing a new drug is between $1 to $2 billion. That's US dollars due to due to the extensive research, testing, and regulatory steps.
Strict regulations. Governments require thorough testing to protect patients, which adds time and complexity. Thank goodness. Okay,
Yes, for
thank goodness we
real.
have these steps though, because we used to not have these steps and people
I
was oof.
I know every episode we talk about radon.
Right.
Cocaine.
Um, uh, opioids,
Oh
cocaine.
yeah, what was that one that cocktail that we had in opioids? Oh
Oh,
man, I got to go back and re-listen to that episode now just to find out what it was. They were like, "Oh, it's not addictive," and it was highly addictive.
highly, highly
Highly.
addictive.
I can't
I
remember
mean,
what it
there's
was.
the lead paint, I mean, the list goes on of stuff that wasn't tested like this before it was put in population. And then we found out later that, oh, this is really not good for humans.
Well, it took all of that for all of this to take place. So,
Right, right. So, ethical concerns and researchers must ensure that trials are conducted ethically with informed consent and oversight.
so, we're going to bring it back now to cancer fighting nanobots. So, the nanobot cancer treatment we discussed is still in the pre-clinical trial stage, meaning it has only been tested in lab settings with mice. Before it can reach human patients, it must go through.
More advanced animal testing, clinical trials phases 1 through 3 in humans, regulatory approval, and post market safety monitoring.
So we want to make sure that we're clear. This process could take up to 10 years or even more, but if successful, it could revolutionize cancer treatment.
And why this matters. Understanding the medical research and development process helps us appreciate why new treatments take time to reach patients. It also helps us separate hype from reality when we hear about exciting breakthroughs.
So we could dive into how emerging technologies like AI and nanotech might speed up the process in the future, but this is where we're at right now, and we would love to know what you think about this.
Absolutely. Do you guys think this is a good idea? Would you like to see that in the future? Uh,
You know,
Let us
I'm
know.
I think if we saw this in the next 10 years, I think that and it really worked as the clinical tests have shown, this is going to be a game changer for family. I mean, just think about all the people that are facing some type of cancer.
Right. No, my best friend's dad recently had a tumor on his leg and he had it treated with radiation and um it was honestly it's amazing that he's able to keep from the knee down of his leg because it was on his shin. Um and he had
Wow.
a wound vac and he's finally into where he's getting skin grafts to cover the giant hole that was left. And he did find out from the doctor that the chemo and the radiation um, actually killed some of the marrow and the bone in his shin. So it'll be a matter of time, really just, a waiting game to see how long he'll be able to keep his leg. But for now, he still has a leg.
Yeah.
But with the nanorobots like this, if it works the way it says it's going to work, he would still have a healthy bone.
Well, I mean, I had an aunt passed away from cancer, you know, uh it really hit very close to home for me. I don't want to share the story without for talking to the person, but it really hit really close in my immediate family too. And I think about all the children's hospitals and things like this. This would just be a huge breakthrough if
For
all the
sure.
testing comes through. And I think this would definitely be a game changer in the medical field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, just direct familial ties. I don't have anybody past my mom on my mom's side of the family. So I, because of cancer and heart disease, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, if you would like to support this podcast,
Click the support link in the show notes.
William and I want to thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Join the Facebook group at Info on the Go
Share with us your show ideas.
or ask us a question.
Subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Send us a text using the link in the show notes or leave a review.
Email us at,
infoonthegopodcast@gmail.com.
and yes, that is all one word. Till next time.
Stay curious.
This Mother's Day, give a gift that is truly special, one that captures memories, preserves love, and lasts for generations.
With Tellmail.ai, you can turn your cherished memories into a timeless keepsake. It's simple. Each call unlocks new chapters, bringing to life the moments, laughter, and wisdom that defines your family's history.
After every conversation, Mel carefully transcribes and edits the stories into beautifully written memoir chapters, which can be shared with your family.
These chapters can be compiled into a stunning hardcover book or a digital keepsake, ensuring that your family's legacy is never lost.
This Mother's Day, give more than just a gift. Give the magic of storytelling, a legacy that will be cherished for generations. Start today at tellmail.ai.